Hello everyone, this is Amrita and it's going to be my very first video on my YouTube channel where I will be posting some data science and machine learning stuffs which might be useful for you guys. So in today's video I'm going to talk about PCA, yes, Principal Component Analysis. So let's go ahead and understand the magic behind this technique. I hope it help you guys. So this is a brief info about my background. For more you can visit my LinkedIn profile. So this PCA topic, I'm going to divide this in three parts. In the first part, I'm going to talk about, in-depth explanation of how PCA works. In the second part, I'm going to explain you how to determine the, appropriate number of principal components that needs to be considered for our analysis. And in third part, I'm going to show you the Python implementation of PCA taking some, test data set. So yeah, as I said, so in this video, I'm going to talk about the first part. So for the remaining part, please wait for my next two videos. Okay, so since PCA is a dimensionality reduction technique, so first let's understand this term. So what do we mean when we say that given data set has, X dimensionality? So it means it has X number of features or columns present there. So this small data set, you see here it has a dimensionality 4 because it has 4 features. So then what is dimensionality reduction? So in simpler terms, I say, let's imagine you have a data set with 1000 attributes. So in that case, the exploratory analysis would be very tedious. Then what do? We drop the least important variable, keeping the important ones. But yeah, we need to make sure that there is no loss of crucial information. So instead of 1000, we just try to keep, top 10 or 15 best attributes. So now there are 3 to 4 common reasons we go for this. First one we just discussed. Second is to get rid of redundant or highly correlated attributes, because sometimes when one feature increases, other also tend to increase. So in that case, we can drop one. So then the third one, yeah, definitely the space and time benefit. And the most important one is the fourth, the curse of dimensionality, because when number of features increases, the amount of data that we require that also increases exponentially. So now there are different techniques for this, but in this video we are going to talk only the PCA. So let's go ahead.
So PCA is an unsupervised and non-parametric method. So it means that it doesn't take into account the target variable of your data set, and also it doesn't consider the underlying distribution of your data. So we'll understand more through this schematic diagram. So suppose that we have a data set with 100 attributes. So now PCA, applied some orthogonal transformation. So while we'll understand about this transformation going forward. So while applying this transformation, it tries to retain maximum variation from the data, because more the variation it retains, less the information it discards. So now what does it gives us? It gives us a transformed data set with k new set of features, which we call as principal components. And this new features, they must be linearly uncorrelated or orthogonal. So by orthogonal, what I mean is they should be mutually perpendicular. So each principal component is orthogonal to the preceding one. So what does it mean? That like principal component 2 will be perpendicular to 1, and similarly the third principal component will be orthogonal to both first and second, and so on it will continue. So now suppose that the value of k here is 8, so it will give us 8 a new set of features, 8 principal components. So the important point here is, the first principal component, it captures maximum variance from the data. So it is highly significant or important, because the retained variance, it decreases as we move down in the order of principal components. So that is why, the last component, the eighth component, it will capture the least variance of the data. So it will be, the very least important feature or the component.
Okay, so now we'll see what PCA does to a dataset through some visuals. So suppose we have a dataset and this is the scatter plot of the same. So PCA, it tries to generate the best fit line between the data points, and it tries to minimize the orthogonal distance, the perpendicular distance between each data point and the best fit line. So this best fit line, it captures the maximum variance in the data set. So if you remember, I said that first principal component that captures the maximum variance. So technically, this best fit line is the our first principal component, which will act as our new x-axis, where we would be projecting our original data set to new feature space. So similarly, we would be getting our second principal component that will capture, remaining variance in the data set. So I said that, the each principal component is orthogonal to the preceding one. So this the second component would be, perpendicular to the first component. You can see here in the fourth graph. So that will, act as a y-axis. So similarly, we get all other principal components which, depict the new axis of the data, or the coordinates of the new feature space, where we will be projecting our original data set at the final step of the PCA. So as of now, just remember that each component has two terms associated with it. First is eigenvector, second is eigenvalue. So the first one tells you the direction in which our data are dispersed, and the second one tells you the variances captured by each component. So based on the eigenvalue only, you tell that okay, this component is highly significant, and the another one is the least important. So now we got the new axis, we got the new coordinates, I mean the components. So then how do we reorient our original data? How do we project our original data to the new feature space to fit this new axis? So for that, as of now, just remember that we multiply the original data with the with the set of k significant principal components. So when I'm saying new feature space, so what do I mean is, I'm sure you all must be knowing about this term, because this is a very common term in data science, but a small explanation. This is an abstract space, where all our variables, where all our features live. So, and also, yeah, this feature space doesn't count your target variable. So, suppose I have, a three-dimensional data where with variables, distance, time, and speed. So, and I extracted another feature x4, by taking speed and time. So now this, this transforms my, three-dimensional data, three-dimensional feature space to four-dimensional. I hope it's clear. Yeah, so the most important section, the key steps involved in PCA implementation. So there are, yeah, total 6 important steps, and so yeah, one by one, let's have a look. So for better understanding, I have taken a dataset instance. The same dataset, I'll be taking up while implementing PCA in Python, which I will show you in, PCA part 3 in my next video. So don't miss it. So just for your information, I have described here the dimension of the data. It has, 1600 observations, and total 12 features or attributes. So excluding the target attribute, it has 11 features. So the first step is data scaling. So we use standard scaler here, but before that, let's understand what is data scaling. So it's a way of transforming our data to fit it in a specific range, because sometimes features in a given dataset, they have different scale. So they contribute unequally to the analysis, and you will end up creating a bias to your model or the accuracy of your model. So yeah, it's better to scale them. So as I said, standard scaler, it is also known as standardization or the Z-score normalization. So Z-score, why? Because it, it scales the dataset to have zero mean and unit variance. And after scaling, the data shows Gaussian properties. So, and this centering and scaling happens so independently on each feature. So if you have 11 features in your dataset, then on each feature you have to apply this standard scaler. So now there is one more scaler called min-max scaler, also known as normalization. But it is very sensitive to outliers, because it scales the data in the range 0 to 1, and this range results in smaller standard deviation, which in turn suppresses the effect of outliers, the noisy data points. So yeah, it's better to go with the standard scalar. But yeah, it also depends on the problem statement. What does it require? So here I have taken the same data instance that I was talking before with 11 attributes, and at the bottom you can see the scale version of the same raw data. Let's go to step 2. We have scale data, and now we'll try to generate covariance matrix of the same. So, but before that, let's revise the term covariance. You all must be knowing, but in one sentence, I would say, it tells us the direction of the linear relationship between any two variables, whether they are, positively covarying, or they are moving. They are moving in inverse direction, or there is not at all any linear relationship. So you all might be knowing the formula, but still, just for our information, I have the one important point is the covariance between, one variable with itself, it gives us variance. So if you go with the formula, you will get this conclusion. So just remember this. So in previous slide, we saw that, the covariance tells us the direction of the linear relationship between two attributes. So then the question is, if we can, simply generate a scatter plot of the data of two attributes, and we can, find out that, whether these two attributes are moving in same direction or inverse direction, then why to go with this, covariance? Because this scatter plot, it won't help, in case of high dimensional data set. So in that case, this covariance matrix comes to rescue us. So let's see what is this. Covariance matrix is also known as dispersion matrix or variance covariance matrix, because it consists of covariances or variances value between the pair of attributes. If we have n dimensional data set, then it will give us n cross n dimensional covariance matrix. Suppose we have 4-dimensional data set with attributes A, B, C, D, then it will give us something like this. And if you remember, the point I mentioned in previous slide, so the diagonal of this matrix always fills up with a variance, because the covariance of an attribute with itself always gives a variance of that attribute. So yeah. So the conclusion is, obviously the n-dimensional data set will always give us n cross n covariance matrix. So here is a snapshot of the same data set instance that we already generated covariance matrix in previous step, and now we'll go for eigen decomposition of the same. So if you remember, in earlier slides, I was talking about the principal component has eigenvector, eigenvalues. So you'll get it what I meant. So in this slide, just understand one thing, that a covariance matrix of order n will always give you n number of eigenvector, and corresponding to that n number of eigenvalues. So here you can see we have 4 cross 4 order covariance matrix. So eigen decomposition, it gave suppose 4 eigenvector. So you remember I said that eigenvector tells the direction of the spread of the data, direction of the principal component. So corresponding to this eigenvector will have eigenvalues, which will tell you the variance captured by each eigenvector. So higher value will be highly significant eigenvector or the principal component. So let's understand the definition of the eigenvector. So eigenvector is always a non-zero vector. So any non-zero vector V, we can call it as an eigenvector of a covariance matrix A only if the product of both is a scalar multiple of that non-zero vector. So this definition will be more clear when you will see one example on the next slide. So another important point about eigenvector is its direction always remains unchanged. Okay, so by linear transformation applied on eigenvector, what I meant is, suppose we have a vector V and another covariance matrix A. So now when we'll multiply them, we'll get another new vector. So it's just transforming a vector to another vector. So this is what when we say matrix is performing linear transformation on a vector. So now on the right side, this is an example, through which it will be much clearer. So at the end, you see, how we are getting, 8 as a scalar value, the eigenvalue. So it tells you, it explains, the definition of the eigenvector that I was saying in the previous slide. So now, so this is just for our information, so in this, this whole PCA thing, when we talk about, the matrix, the eigenvector and the eigenvalues, what does it mean, So yeah. So now these are the, few questions that you would be facing, often in interviews. So yeah. Okay, so now the first step. So in previous step, you already saw that from covariance matrix, how we obtain the eigenvectors and eigenvalues. So in this step, we would be sorting out these eigenvectors or the principal components based on, the eigenvalues. So at the end, we'll be choosing, the top K best principal components or the eigenvectors. Yeah, principal components. So you already know, right? I explained in the earlier slides that each component has two terms associated with it. First is eigenvector, which tells you the direction of the spread of the data, and second is eigenvalues, which tells you the magnitude of the variance captured by that component. So let's take the same covariance matrix with ABCD attribute. So eigen decomposition gave 4 eigenvector and then corresponding 4 eigenvalues. So then we sorted out based on the eigenvalues, and what we see that the D attribute, you see now it became the second order principal component because of its higher eigenvalues. So now after sorting, it's much clear, to find out the significance level of this eigenvectors or the principal components. So now we can say that, okay, a attribute is highly significant, and then not the B, the D is the second highly significant attribute. So okay, so with all the sorted eigenvectors, we now move to step 5, where we would be now constructing the projection matrix using k best principal components or k best eigenvectors. So first let's understand what is k and what is projection matrix. So K is basically, the new dimensionality of the transformed data into new feature space. So K is nothing but the number of principal components or the number of eigenvectors that we will be using to construct the new feature space. Okay, so then what is projection matrix? So projection matrix is suppose we have 11 sorted eigenvectors. So out of 11 we chose the 6 top principal components or eigenvectors. Then those 6 chosen principal components as together it will form projection matrix. You can see it will look like this at the table at the bottom corner. So, and then what does it, depict this projection matrix? What kind of information? So it tells you, it gives us the coordinates of the new axis, onto which, we'll be using those coordinates, we'll be projecting our original data into new feature space. So, so this projection matrix is very important. Okay, so you can see here I have provided a snapshot of the same data instance. So if k is 6, I will take top 6 eigenvector or component to construct my projection matrix. And my projection matrix will look like this. So please don't miss my, next upcoming videos for PCA part 3. There I will show you the Python implementation of PCA. That would okay. So now the last step, where we would be using our previously constructed projection matrix to transform or to project our original data to new feature space or to new dimension. Okay, so what we have here is original data set, which I'm indicating here with letter X, and considering this has n dimensionality. So the second thing what we have is projection matrix, which we just constructed in previous step using top k eigenvectors or top k principal components. So for better understanding, let's take the value of k here 6. So now we'll be projecting our original data set to a new feature space. So for that we just simply multiply the feature matrix with projection matrix. So here at the bottom you can see I have tried to explain you by taking the dimension of the data instance that I showed you earlier. The same data instance I would be taking while implementing PCA in Python. So you can see how we ended up, from 11 attributes to 6 best informative attributes. So now the transformed data you can see has dimensionality 6, before it was 11. So isn't it great? Okay, so in this video, that's all, guys. Thank you so much. If something is not clear, so please feel free to drop your comments or queries. I will try my best to help you, because this helped me to grow as well. And so in my next two videos, I'm going to cover these two topics. The first is to determine the optimal number of principal components, and the third will be the Python implementation of the PCA, taking some test data set. So yeah, please do watch. If if you feel not confident enough on this PCA topic, it might help you. And till then, see you. Bye bye. Thank you.